Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. We only have one more movie to talk about this weekend, and that movie is Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is from Warner Brothers, which means we get to talk about the HBO Max experiment again, which is always fun. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons for Those Who Wish Me Dead. So, let's get to it. Pros. Movie stars Angelina Jolie. Obviously, she's had a very lengthy career and she's had quite a few hits under her belt, which we're going to look at now. I'm going to just basically show you her resume. That way you can see how successful she really is. So, her first major solo hit was way back in 2001 with Laura Croft Tomb Raider. In terms of inflation, it's by far and away the biggest video game movie of all time. It was the first to actually gross over 100 million in the states. It would take nearly 2 decades for another video game movie to do that. So that's definitely significant. And then after that, she had stuff like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Wanted, Salt, and her biggest hit by far, Maleficent. Maleficent and Salt were mostly all about her. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, she bounced off of Brad Pitt, and Wanted, she was more of a supporting player. But Salt and Maleficent, all her, no question about it. And she's also in the Internals movie this year, which is part of the MCU, so that helps her career. So yeah, people are willing to watch Angelina Jolie in movies. So if this movie's gonna make any money this weekend, it's gonna be because of Angelina Jolie and her fans. No question about it. But the supporting cast isn't that bad either. I mean, we got Nicholas Hoult, John Berthenol, Tyler Perry. Not a bad group. But Angelina Jolie is the clear star of the movie. She's been in all the posters and the ads and everything. So this movie's gonna live or die based off her and her appeal. But even with like the pros that I've just listed of all of her successes, she's had quite a bit of duds too, which we will get into once we get to the cons. But she's still a recognizable face. Like that much is true. So yeah, gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. All right, another pro that I can think of. It's in theaters, obviously. If you want to watch it, you can. It's kind of a toss up between this and Spiral for the most interesting movie coming out. It also has no real competition for the next 2 weeks until Cruella and Quiet Place 2 come out. So it has a good 2 weeks to make money before it gets eaten up by more interesting movies. So I guess we can consider that a pro. Uh, I think that's it when it comes to pros. Now that I think about it, okay, cons. Angelina Jolie's like it's weird. Like people are willing to watch her in certain movies, mainly action movies, because you know, looking at her record, like Laura Croft, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Wanted, Salt, all action movies. Maleficent, that had the Disney brand attached to it, and it was also based off a famous character from Sleeping Beauty, the main villain from Sleeping Beauty. So obviously there's that. But yeah, when she's not in an action movie, she tends to do pretty terrible. Uh let's see, what can I poke fun at? Well, there was Laura Croft Tomb Raider Cradle of Life. That was a dud. Didn't help that the first one wasn't very good. There's that. The Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, that did bad. Alexander was a complete disaster. Beowulf, she was barely in the movie, but still, that didn't do very good. Changing, it doesn't matter. It didn't do all that great, at least not in America. The Tourist didn't do great in America. It was mocked by Hollywood itself. By the Sea was a complete train wreck at the box office. Didn't help that during that time, Angelina and Brad Pitt, they had the spat and they divorced, they broke up. I don't want to get into all that because I'm not into celebrity drama, but yeah, that certainly didn't help. Then we had Maleficent 2, which definitely didn't perform on par with the first. Granted, I think it had less to do with Angelina Jolie and more due to the fact that no one was really asking for Maleficent 2. But so we can't ignore the fact that it did worse. We can't ignore that. So yeah, like she's had a very spotty track record box office wise, but it really only depends on like the genre she's in. And I mean, this is technically an action movie, but it's also more of a western, a neo western. It's been described as. So I guess we consider that another con is that westerns not the biggest draw in the world. I mean, sure, for every True Grit and Django Unchained and even Hateful Eight, there's God. Lone Ranger. Well, Lone Ranger was more bombastic, more of a bombastic western. Like we're talking like more smaller westerns. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Well, there was. Does Logan count as a western? I consider that a western, but because definitely it's definitely feels like a western. But well, that's part of the win column. But what about Jonah Hex? Is that a western? I mean, it does take place in the Wild West technically. There's also Cowboys and Aliens too, but that was more of a mishmash between sci-fi and western. It's weird. Point still stands. Westerns are not as popular as they once were. This is a simple fact. And even though this is a more modern take on a western, it still has a western feel to it. So yeah, it's I would consider that a con. Uh, Another con, obviously, the HBO Max experiment. We're now several movies into that experiment, so now we have a better idea on how much of a detriment HBO Max is to these movies. I mean, it's hard to say really. I mean, with the exception of, I mean, the only one that's done really, really well is Godzilla versus Kong. Other than that, they've all done pretty weak box office wise, and this will definitely be no exception. Because when compared to, say, Wonder Woman 1984, Godzilla vs. Kong, or Mortal Kombat, or even Tom and Jerry, this feels like a movie that more people will watch on HBO Max than actually watch in a theater, like actually go out their house and pay money to watch it theatrically. Because this doesn't feel like a movie that feels like an event at all. This feels like a very small movie in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I think the HBO Max experiment is definitely going to hurt this movie more than the majority of them. So, yeah, that's definitely a con. Another con, obviously, pandemic, less theaters than normal, less screens than normal. Like, I don't know how many theaters it's going to be released in. There isn't a clear number out there. I'm guessing it's over 2,000, has to be at this point. But still, pandemic will definitely negatively affect it. So that's a con too. And then Angelina, well, I already talked about her flops. I guess I can say it's also based off a novel that I've never read, and I don't know how popular the novel is, but I don't know. I don't know at this point. Maybe the book fans will save it, but I sincerely doubt that. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So opening weekend, I'm going to guess this is going to open at 5 to 6 million. I'm guessing it makes like 15 or so million total. It'll likely have a short lifespan because it's been the theme of these HBO Max movies. They open okay and then they just plummet right afterwards. So this will definitely be no exception. And that's it. That's it for this weekend. That's all the movies that are coming out. So you won't be seeing another one of these videos until the 28th because nothing's coming out next weekend. At least nothing in wide release. But the 28th, that's going to be exciting. That's going to be big. We got Cruella and Quiet Place Part 2. That is going to be the most important weekend of the year so far because that weekend is going to prove whether or not the blockbuster can truly come back. I mean, sure, Godzilla vs. Kong proved you can launch a big movie in this environment, but can two big movies launch together in this environment? That's going to be the test. That's going to be the big test. But that's not for 2 weeks from now, so we have to wait until that happens. But yeah, anywho, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got a playlist on the homepage with all the movies I've already covered this year. You know, Raya and the Last Dragon, Godzilla vs Kong, Mortal Kombat, Demon Slayer, all the others. If you want to watch any of those and any of my past prediction videos from like 2019, 2020, you can go right ahead. It's also the cancel series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I just did one about the whole situation with Jungle Cruise, Shang-Chi, and Free Guy. If you want to go watch that and all the other canceled episodes, that way you know what's going on with all these movies. You can go right ahead. It's also box office recaps. I go over the box office results for any particular month. I just did the triple recap last weekend. The May recap won't come out till early June, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to check out any of my past recap videos, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.